It's becoming a common trend under US President Donald Trump's administration, splitting up immigrant families to deter undocumented migration. Parents are kept in custody and children under protection while deciding their fate, which can take months. Are South African authorities doing the same, or are they acting in the best interests of Zimbabwean children? More from Sungani Piri and Ashley Market.
In March this year, South Africa deported 8 Zimbabwean children who'd entered the country illegally on the back of a truck. Images of the children showed them leaving OR Tambo International Airport. Once in Zimbabwe, they were placed at another shelter instead of with their families. South African authorities have dismissed criticism of their actions, saying rules are rules. Minors have to travel with valid passports, unabridged birth certificates, and parental consent. Dr. Tebogo Mabe from the Department of Social Development says they acted in the best interests of the children.
And when we requested the parents, to provide, documentation, for the children that they are claiming that they are their children, they didn't, provide. When they provided, the documents were, eligible. Eligible, yeah. One was not, able, to can read, what was. So it was a tricky situation because it was very dicey. People were not, honest, or, they came, perhaps, with, hidden agendas, of wanting to claim, the children, yeah.
This does not appear to have been the case for Lorraine and her husband Rodwell. They say their child had a valid South African passport and that Rodwell personally gave all the necessary documentation to Home Affairs.
Wakaenda ne-birth certificate rake, ne-clinic card, ne-birth record. But pakaenda ne-birth record, ndopakazonzi birth record ndofana kuya ku-Cape Town ndone mai vacho. Seni stara baba riri pa birth neri pa passport pa baba vacho zvakafanana. Saka handisi kuziva kuti sei asina kukwanisa kuburitsa mwana wangu because zvese anga ainazvo.
Because the Department of Social Development instead became concerned about the parents' legal status.
The child might be having, the documentation, but we wouldn't be, releasing the child into the care of the person that is query, illegitimate, in the country. So we also needed, to clear, the status, immigration status, of the parents themselves here in South Africa. That is why Home Affairs, also came on board, to say Home Affairs, this is your mandate, to check, the the legal statuses, of the parents.
But Home Affairs says it didn't do that. The matter was in the hands of Social Development, who approached the courts.
That is not true.
So
because DSS lied, because if that kid was, those kids were arrested by police, and the police take them to the place of safety of DSD. Because it's the court who made a decision and say these kids are not belonging to those parents. They must be taken back to Zimbabwe. Why this one now was different?
Nicodemus, who doesn't have a passport or birth certificate for his son, says he offered to undergo a DNA test to prove paternity. But Social Development wouldn't budge.
That was terrible. Zvakatirwadza izvo singaiti takatombotaura tikati okay imi mukuti havasi vana vedu madi kuita madna test but vakaramba kuita madna test hatomboziva kuti chii ipapo.
Dr. Mabe from Social Development says that option was too expensive.
DNA, option was put, on the table, and, the parents said they are not able, to can afford.
Lauren Landau from the African Centre for Migration at WITS believes the children were placed in shelters to deter immigrant parents from smuggling their children into South Africa.
I don't think there's any provision in the law or in any kind of ethical system that would say you can keep them for 4 months in a place like this. I would guess the government is doing this as a way of trying to scare people, to try to send a message that don't bring your children here, this is what's going to happen to them. But what's really happening is you're hurting the children, and you're certainly hurting South Africa's reputation in the region.
No, it's not a matter of punishment. It's a matter of, abiding, to the rules, of the country. We shouldn't, perpetuate. We shouldn't, encourage, people to be here illegally.
Human rights advocates believe there was no humanity in the action of South African authorities.
And I think it's unfair to judge a parent who is under very strict or very, very trying times for what they're trying to do to be with their children, to protect and create opportunities for their children.
They got court orders against children. They got repatriation orders signed by children as young as 10 years old, as 8 years old. They put court papers in front of these kids, knowing who the parents were. And that I found very unfortunate and actually reprehensible. It's because, again, they're using the draconian nature of the Human Trafficking Act.
Soon after his boy was deported, Rodwell travelled to Zimbabwe to plead with officials there to release his child. But officials in Zimbabwe kept the child at the shelter for another month while it sorted out legalities.
Some are still in and some before others. They've been released at the discretion of the Zimbabwean authorities.
Checkpoint was unable to secure comment from Zimbabwean authorities.
When we return, the business of smuggling. We speak to a Zimbabwean Malaysia.
Ndizvo kungotaurira navo kuitawo vachiriwo kuti anga saka mari yacho inenge yakati kwirei.